to say it's okay. So welcome everybody. Gosh, we're not totally winding down yet, but it's been almost a year since we started, and so that's really, really cool. And I know lots of people are getting closer to finishing their projects for the year. And we're really looking forward to our celebration that we're planning. And I thought that this is what we're planning for today, is that we're going to share what we have come up with so far for our October celebration. And then we're going to talk about how to submit your items for our digital book. And we'll show you the forms for that. And then we'll do our usual sharing at the end. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is our invitation that we made for the autumn gathering. So mark your calendars. It's October 23rd. It will be 11 a.m. to 3. That's basically what we had done for the June gathering as well. It's going to be at Shepherd's Hay Farm, which is in Comus, and so it's a little bit closer to this 270 freeway. And we'll have those usual signs and flags and stuff out to market, because you have to go down this farm road to get to this really cool farm building, basically, that we're going to be using for the gathering. So here's our plan, is that we're going to have the zero waste potluck like we had at our June gathering. And if you weren't there, what that means is that, you bring something to share, but you also bring your own utensils, plate, cup, that kind of thing, so that there isn't trash at the end or whatever is. That way you could take it home with you. We're going to open it up to the entire FiberShed community, so that we can share our great projects with everybody that's interested in the FiberShed movement. We're hoping to have a fashion show. Marian is going to be our MC. And so with the fashion show, people can, if they have a garment, you can model it. Or if it's a home textile, you can walk across the stage with it. We'll also have areas set up that will be more like, kind of like a gallery, we're hoping, where we could have, like, if you have, pillows or a throw or something like that, we may have like a bench to put those on. So it's kind of like staged a little bit, that's what we're hoping for. We're going to have a photographer there. So that person will help if you need to have your submission photos done for you. Then our photographer will help with that. If you would like to be that photographer, just reach out to us. We have somebody, we have my husband in the wings in case we have to do that. But if we would love to have somebody from the FiberShed to be the photographer too. And of course, the photographer will document our gathering as well. We're going to need volunteers to help us set up and to clean up. And there's going to be a sign up genius just like last time. And so we'll have the potluck categories on there, and we'll also have the space for you to volunteer to set up or clean up. And if we need other volunteers, we'll put categories in there as well. So we're going to need to have your submission forms, which Kirsten's going to talk about in a couple of minutes, completed before the gathering, so that we can label your item if it's in the staging area. And also that submission form will be something that Marian can use to describe your garment or your item for the fashion show section. And if you don't want to model your garment, we hope to have some people that will model for you. So you just need to let us know about that. That we're going to have a marketplace with the Chesapeake FiberShed producers, certified producers products there. And we're hoping to have a seed saver exchange table. So, collect those seeds and put them in little bags, and we can exchange. And when I send out the email tomorrow that has the link to this recording, I'm going to put in all the links that you'll need. So it will have the links to the submission documents. It will have the Sign Up Genius links in there as well. And so we're hoping to have a really nice, connection with people. We're hoping to have some music, and maybe we'll be able to have like a slideshow running on somehow on a screen or something. We have a lot of ideas in the works. So, and if you would like to help in the planning, again, just reach out to us through the Chesapeake Fiber Shed at gmail.com. We can always use more volunteers. Right?
Can I say something, Lisa?
Yes, please.
Hi, this is Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
The word community is misspelled.
Oh, thank you. It is. Thank you.
And I'd be happy to help. I'll send you an email so you can.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Okay.
And I will fix that. Are there any other questions about the gathering so far, our plan so far? Nope. Okay. Kirsten, take it away.
Well, Lisa, I'm hoping you'll be able to share screen and pull up the, I think we could start with our,
Which one would you like first?
So we have the actual form, and then we have the, parameters. So why don't we start with the parameters, the more descriptive. I'm just going to read through it and sort of follow up on this idea that what we need from everyone, myself included, are these forms which give basic information about the piece or pieces that you've made, and a little bio, all the things that will go into either being used at our actual event. If you decide to take your piece on the catwalk, then some of that information will be shared, and then this is going to go into our final our ebook, and will be shared on social media. So all of this is going to be really important going forward. So yeah, I can't believe we're almost done with a year, and now it's time to get all these details into print. So I'll just start at the top there. We're not charging fees for any of the participation in any of this, and we luckily have had a small grant that has helped support some of the costs that we've had along the way. So everyone is encouraged and welcome to be in this exhibition that we're putting together at Lee Langstaff's farm, Shepherd's Hay. But we do need everyone to get their information to us in time so that we can have all that. I'm just going to say, so you actually, just to make sure, everything should be made by you or by your team. And our deadline is October 18th. So it's a little bit before our final show, just so we have time to go through that data. The photography for our ebook is important. We really want everyone to be well represented. And so there's a lot of information that we're going to give you that might help you to, take the photographs and how to save it so that they're the best definition. But if you have any issues yourself with taking the photographs yourself, as Lisa mentioned, we're going to have a photographer there at the event. And as well, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to us, and we'll offer whatever support we can. Just scrolling down here, the permission granted. So with your submission, you're granting the Chesapeake Fiber Shed permission to include the submissions in the print catalog or the online catalog, and to use it for promotional purposes. Obviously, it's your photograph. You own that, but we're just asking everyone to give us permission by submitting. So I think that, so, okay, so here, yeah, this is, this is basically walking you through what you're going to encounter when you get the form. Basically, we just want all the pertinent information, your artwork title, the dimensions. There's going to be a space for your bio and a space for materials and all sorts of things. So, but we want you to complete one form per submission. So you don't need to cram it all into one form if you have a few pieces. So the first thing listed here is the maker statement, and this is really the fun part. This is tell us the story of your piece. Tell us basically what was the process, how you started it, and what things went into it, and what things you've learned from it. Lisa, do you think we should jump over to the form, or maybe let's go through all of this and then we can look at the form? Does that make sense? Or we can jump to the form. What do you think?
Up to you.
Okay, let's just keep going right through this instead of toggling back and forth. So the bio of yourself, again, this is going to come on the form, and it's not a long bio, just 4 or 5 sentences, something fun about yourself and your team. It really can be, yeah, it's not meant to be your whole life story, obviously, but maybe what drew you to participating in this, in our challenge, and some of the things that you brought to that informed your choices. Perhaps you have been weaving for a long time, and maybe you want to include that. Yeah. So then we get into the photos, and Lisa has put together a really nice, she's got some resources at the bottom of this document, which I think could really help you to think about how you might frame your work when you're taking photographs. Most of us will probably use a cell phone, but if you have a nicer camera, you can certainly use that. The image size, the photos must be in JPEG format, and there's all the information about the size here, the pixels and everything. And I think it's in the second, there's a YouTube sort of tutorial at the bottom of the page here. And I think in the second one, there's a lot of really good information on how you can look this up and make sure that you're using the right format and that you have the right amount of information given. So thank you, Lisa. Let's see. Yeah, so I think the image file name, that's important here. There's certain fields, the artist name, first name, last name, the title of the artwork, and we're asking for a submission of a full image of your work and a detailed image of your work. So Lisa has examples of that here. Your first name underscore, last name underscore, and then the title of her piece here is the 10-stitch blanket. And again, she's told us that that's the full image. So yeah, so you just need to follow these steps and make sure that your photographs are labeled. And then there's some photography tips at the bottom here. Yeah, so it's important to have really good lighting for your piece. And it's also important to frame your piece in such a way that the background isn't taking away from your actual piece. So we've suggested like a plain background, a white, black, or gray, but honestly, anything that sort of complements and doesn't distract, but actually helps to support your piece will be best. So, I mean, for instance, I often take photographs of my work on like a wooden surface on a table, or I can even use the floor to spread something out. And for some of our pieces, they are actually quite sculptural, like a sweater or hat, and you might want to find a way to either borrow, or if you have a mannequin or something, to put it on there, and then, or even have somebody model it. But I would say if you're having somebody model it, you might want to, maybe even just make sure that it's not that the smiling face isn't taking away from your from your sweater, for instance. So somehow, I think sometimes when I'm photographing my work on someone or myself, I just look away, so it's not it's not a portrait necessarily. It just is a way, a frame to actually see your piece draped and not just flat on a surface. So yeah, watch out for blurry pictures. Make sure that you're framing things in a way that's pretty straight, and edges are parallel. And again, at the bottom, there's a few tutorials here, and I'm sure you can find other things online. But if you have questions or need a little extra help, feel free to reach out. And I'll return to the natural lighting. I think for most of us, if you have natural lighting, you'll have less glare. And again, I think it's in one of these tutorials, there's a little tip on using maybe a piece of white paper or something to help bounce the light so that you get an even, even sort of flow of light across your work. Are there any questions so far about any of these, or any concerns? Or otherwise, we'll just jump over to the forum and review that.
And you'll make, Kirsten, you'll make this available to.
Yeah, this whole thing will go out to you, both this and the forum. And then, as Lisa said, there'll also be a sign up Genius for the event. Yeah.
Yeah, that should go out. That will be in your mailbox tomorrow.
Great.
Yeah. So let's look at the forum. I mean, I've basically covered it. I just think I'll go name title of work. So if you don't have a title of your work, you might title for your work. You might consider thinking of a title. It can be a lot of fun if you have a piece which references some part of your process, or something that was really sort of that informed it, or that's important to you to be reflected in the title. So you might. I was just thinking out loud because I don't have a title for my piece, for my sweater, and so I have like a list of possibilities. And as I started to write about the whole process of creating this sweater within a year, I found, oh yeah, maybe it is, it's a journal, and maybe I'll sort of include that in the title of the piece somehow. So So Lisa, if you can just scroll a little bit more.
Just to reiterate at the top. So if you have multiples of one item, like for instance, if you made a bunch of pillows, but they're all with the same technique, basically, those can be on one submission. But if you do a hat and a cowl and a blanket or whatever, those should be on separate forms. Okay.
Thanks. Yes, good point. Here's the place where you tell us which stream you followed, embrace our place, which is all Chesapeake Fibershed materials, re-envision our resources, and that's the repurposed textiles, and borrow across our boundaries. 50% of the materials are sourced from within our Fibershed, and then there's a space for other. And many of us actually might be in that other place, and you'll have an opportunity to sort of explain how you may have moved between streams at some point, and that will be fine. So materials used. This is you're really be very specific. So it's your chance to really tell us something about, really trace and make every part of this visible. And that is actually the beauty of this whole challenge, I think. So, you list the farm where you got your fiber, or you list the, perhaps you list the fiber content, and if you've done something that's upcycled, where did this begin? Was it something that you took from your own closet, or is it something from a thrift store? And how far back can you trace that story? And if you haven't already done this, then it's time to really do this. Just get out a notebook and take lots of notes. And if you find yourself reaching a place where you don't know something, that's probably a good thing to get there right now before before submissions, and see if you can find out more. So yeah, and then maker statement. Tell us your inspiration, processes, and learning from the challenge. I'm so looking forward to hearing everybody's maker statement. This is your artistic statement, and this is really sort of your journey. How you began, what processes you've used, and what you've learned from this year of working really in depth and with care. So I don't know. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about maker statement, Lisa? Is there something? I think it doesn't need to be too long, but
we probably want you to limit it to what, like maybe 300 words or something like that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and the maker statement may, all of this may sort of overlap. You may be also talking about materials and their significance to you within the context of the maker statement. So don't worry about that. And the bio of yourself, again, this is not your life story, just, 3 or 4 sentences. And it can be in relation to your project, for instance, if you, I'm just thinking about myself. If I have a hard time limiting myself to 2 or 3 sentences. So I might just really decide to talk about my relationship to indigo, or when I started dyeing with indigo, since that was the focus of the work in my sweater. Or not. You can also throw in a few random surprise things, and we'll all be thrilled to know more about each other, hopefully. Yes. And so the last question is, and of course, sorry to backtrack, but if you're a team, then we want to have information about everyone on the team. So there's space for that. And then just let us know if you're going to be at the gathering on the 23rd. And I think that's it. At the end, there's a place to submit your photos. And again, you're doing a large, a full photo of the work and a detailed photo. And you're doing this for each of your pieces, as Lisa said. So yeah, I think that's it. And yeah, well, we want to get all this on the 18th, so that we have time to go through it and pull out things if we need for the event. So yeah, and we're all very accessible, and so if there's any difficulty, just reach out and we'll do our best to help.
Kirsten, just to confirm, so you said that we could do photos at the event, so we don't need to have photos before.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For those of us that are going to be still like blocking things on the 22nd.
Exactly.
Not me, of course.
No, we expect
'cause
everyone's already done with their piece. Well, I know some people are, but
because the photos are going to be going into the book or blog or that kind of thing. So,
Right.
but we felt we wanted to have the written part of it before the event, just so that we could, have those the information available, like for the fashion show, for the MC, that for Marion, who's volunteered to be the MC, or to put a card, by the items, that kind of thing. So it all look the same, uniform.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the option to actually take your photographs at the gathering. I mean, you know, you might hopefully we'll have a few people volunteer to help with photography, and you might consider, even if you've already taken photographs, of actually taking advantage of that moment and having some photographs taken there too. I think it would be nice if we have enough people power actually to have like one place where there's a consistent photograph taken of everyone's work, or as many people will be at the event. And Lee Langstaff's barn space, there's a really beautiful, we're thinking about photographs against this beautiful red door. We'll see if that works, but it could be quite stunning to have your work photographed there. So that's it. If there's no questions, I think we'd be
There's a
ready.
couple questions in the
Oh,
chat.
yes, sorry.
Okay, so let's see. Word limit on the bio. I think again, you know, keeping it to 250 or 300 at the very maximum. You have a big team, Ray, so yeah. Hopefully that would work for your team. And if it's an individual person, you know, yeah, keeping it to, you know, 3 or 4 sentences, I think. Does that make sense, Ray?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, if you're not able to come to the event, you should submit it anyway, because we want it to be in our book. And if you want your piece to come and be part of the fashion show, then yeah, send it with someone else. That would be great. And just let us,
Absolutely.
you know, just let us know so that you know, on that, the question on the form that, you know, that your piece will be there, right? So that we know for planning purposes, how long that fashion show will be and that kind of thing. At this point, we don't have any specific plans about the book at this time. We are looking into a couple of different you know, platforms to put the book together. If you know anybody who's good at that kind of stuff and wants to volunteer, we're happy to have somebody help us with that. That answer your questions, everybody?
I just wanted to raise that we are having clothing labels printed with the
Oh, I
Fiber Shed
forgot.
sustainable
Yeah.
cloth, so that people can sew that into their garment or onto their item, so that as a remembrance of it, or as a way to sort of tag it as such. So we'll be passing those out. If you're not going to come, let us know, and when they arrive, we can send them to you.
So so we don't put those in before the event, we'll get them at the event?
I was planning just to bring them, but if you want them mailed earlier, we can try to do that for you.
That's fine. I'll bring a needle and thread.
Maybe we should have that on hand.
We should have that on hand.
Because I'm
Yeah.
gonna want it, I mean, assuming Tracy's coming, I hope she's coming, I'm transferring her her item there.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I want it to be ready and completely done, and she'll like that label in it, so.
Yeah. Sounds good. Anything else?
Should we go ahead and share our progress?
Yeah. Can I just ask, before we go there, how many people feel like they'd like to participate in the fashion show or walk their piece across? How many people?
I want Tracy to do it, but I'll do it.
Great,
I
that's
think
fun.
that looks like everyone.
Yeah,
Great.
and again, if you want it, you know, if you want someone else to wear your piece or hold your piece and walk, that's of course great. Good.
Cool. Well, Several people sent me their photographs so that so that we could share them with the screen. Should we start with those people first, or what do you think?
Sure. Sounds
And
good.
then we can stop. Then we'll stop sharing screen. Sharing the screen. So let's miss. Yeah, this. Sharing screen, unsharing screen. It's like it can be. It's irritating.
It's not seamless.
It's not seamless, and you have to, you have to make sure things are open and.
Mm.
Okay. All right. So first up is the Weavers Guild of Greater Baltimore team. Ray, do you want to take over?
Everybody, in case you haven't been joining any of these meetings previously, we are the Weavers Guild of Greater Baltimore team. We have about 14 people on our team, everyone from a spinner to a photographer and writer. So where we are now, we had a very busy summer. We finished spinning the weft for the garment. We finished the dyeing and felting of embellishments. We wove and spun yarn for supplemental material for the garment. And so what you're seeing on your screen now is a photograph of our weaver who wove the body of the fabric on her Glamarca loom. The fabric on loom was 8 yards by 41 inches wide.
Wow.
43 inches wide. So, and then here's a picture of the warp and the woven fabric. And when we took it off the loom, we allowed it to rest for a while. And then we steam finished the fabric. It took us about 4 hours to steam finish the fabric. And we borrowed some steamers from our Weavers Guild. And so they were, gracious enough to have these beautiful, nice sort of commercial grade steamers. So that's where we are there. And then this is the fabric, the supplemental fabric. And I wove this fabric and it's on a rectangle loom. There are 5 pins per inch on this rectangle loom. And it is 60 inches wide by 15 inches high. And this piece, when it was taken off the loom, was felted. And then it looks like this needs to be resized a tiny bit, this photograph, but the fabric has been cut. All the pattern pieces have been cut, and the garment has been actually sewn at this point, and it is on display at the Maryland State Fair. So we will be actually sort of stealing away the garment from the State Fair next week, and we will have it at our Weavers Guild meeting, and the team will be making a presentation to the Guild on September 6th.
Awesome.
Guild member, please attend.
Did it win any awards, or do you know yet?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
My spy said she couldn't find it.
Oh no!
I don't know why she couldn't find it, but I have no idea. I will know on the 5th whether or not we won any awards.
Well, great. It's a magnificent project that you guys did.
What did I want to say? The garment will be hanging at the State Fair until September 11th. So this year the State Fair is being run a little bit differently. It's being run on long weekends over the course of 3 weekends. So in our planning and our project planning years, this is the first year that they've sort of mashed up how the State Fair is run. So we were planning to be ready to have the garment ready for the state fair. And usually the state fair would end on Labor Day. And then the next day we would go and pick up our materials. That kind of put a little bit of a snafu into our plan. So we have to literally like sneak in at 8 o'clock on Monday, and then sneak back on Wednesday when they're doing another intake for baking goods and put it back on display.
It
It's
sounds,
really an amazing effort.
yes, a round of applause, definitely.
Well, hopefully you'll see it all at the show, right?
Absolutely.
The fashion show. So I plan to be there, and maybe a few other of my team members will go as well.
That'll be great.
Yeah. Awesome. Next up, we have Roan. And hopefully I put these in the right order, Roan.
I don't think it matters, but yeah, thank you. So I am trying to be able to finish this in time. I will be able to do it, but it'll be a little tight. So that is the fleece that I have. Luckily, I did all the washing much earlier and when it was a lot hotter outside. So it dried pretty fast. So that is the Tunis fleece, and I have hand carders, but I'm like, a lot of these locks were really nicely preserved and pretty long. So I was kind of using them like hand combs, where I was like brushing them out and then making them into little sausages, like so that they're facing forward. I don't know if there's a more efficient way to do that. If anyone else has any tips? Because I'm kind of like, because the tips, both of the ends are still kind of stuck together. So I'm like brushing them out first and then shaping them into prepped fiber. I don't know. This is my first fleece, but it has worked for my test fibers really nicely, or like my test spins really nicely, but it's a little time consuming. Yeah, so this is my test samples that I've done. The one on the right, I don't know my right and left. The one on the right is a 2-ply. Oh, I think it says there in the picture. It's a 2-ply, and then the one on the left is a 3-ply. And I was testing to see if that made enough of a difference to do the effort of making a whole sweater in 3-ply, and it is worth the effort. It was so much softer and like fuller, and it looks nicer. So yeah, I'm gonna put all the work in and do a 3-ply. And yeah, it was really nice. And then this, I had the idea of like making a tank top. I don't know if I really like how it turned out, or if I'm gonna be able to like modify it a little bit to do to make it something that I would actually wear, but I was doing it as practice for a sweater because it was the same construction. I'm hoping to do a like a drop shoulder construction, because I've done one sweater before and that's what it was, and it's kind of easy to figure out. And so that's kind of how I did this. I just didn't do any sleeves. And it was really good practice it's actually the first thing I've made from hand spun yarn, and it was from this specific fleece. So I got a lot of practice and like understanding the amount of effort that it takes to do that. And yeah, that was a 2-ply. Now I'm kind of like, oh, I wish it was a 3-ply. It would have been nicer. What can you do? And yeah, that was just like a close-up run. If you can see it.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to take a picture of it, but yeah. Yep, that's mine so far. And then I'm like trying to do a fermentation indigo vat. That's coming along sort of. It's not been hot enough outside to leave it outside and have it do it, which is weird. So I have this like fish tank heater in it, like sort of working. It's coming along slowly. I've done the quick reducing fats before, like with the fructose that you add in, and calcium hydroxide, but that one I've done some, it's not as fast as I would like it to be. And I've heard that fermentation indigo vats are more fast and they can kind of have like a nicer color. And then, yeah, I'm hoping to over dye that with black walnut and make black.
Oh, nice.
That's my plan. It's a lot of like, I mean, this whole year has been, it is funny to you guys are saying like, oh, it's been like a year. Yeah, it's crazy how much I've learned in a year. When I was first starting out, I didn't know any of this stuff. So.
No, nice.
Ray, did
That's
you
all
have a
for
question
me.
for Roan?
Do. So, Rowan, how committed are you to do you notice if you in spinning any difference between, have you tried like cutting the tips or trimming the tips a little bit and spinning, carding and spinning to see if there's a difference? Because our team really, we had a big debate about cutting tips versus leaving them intact. And the spinners were in unqualified agreement that cutting the tips was the way to go because it really made the spinning a lot nicer. And you didn't get as many nubs and you didn't get as many, I guess the color was a little bit more true to what the piece was.
Yeah, I definitely heard that. I have not tried it. I think it could be beneficial for some of them. Some of them I'm afraid it would be too short because it's like there's a lot of different sections to the fleece, and some of them have very short ends that are kind of like stained dark, and then some of them have like almost half of it is kind of matted together, but like you can open it up pretty easily with the cards. Yeah, I might try that one.
And maybe Kirsten can talk to you about the fermentation vat.
Oh yeah, have you tried that?
Yeah, I've been working with fermentation vats for a while. What fruit source are you using or sugar source?
I was using madder, like spent madder.
Yeah. And
I
have
don't
you
know how
tried?
much to like feed it.
Right. Yeah. That's always the trick when you're not using fructose or something that you're measuring, because the fruits have differing amounts of sugar, and also depending on the harvest, they can have different amounts of sugar. I don't know. I think madder can be just slower actually because it has less sugar. That was my experience with it. So I don't know. Yeah. Are you working straight from the plant into a fermentation, or how are you? What do you?
No, this was the one thing that I'm like doing the borrowing stream for.
Right.
This was purchased indigo because I really wanted black, and I just could not figure out another way to get like a nice deep black from sources around here, because like the I don't really like brown, and the like closest to black I've gotten with black walnut has been like a very dark brown. Like it still looks brown. So.
My sweater is a combination of black walnut and indigo, and what I love about the black walnut is and indigo together is that it goes actually more of a neutral gray. So you do get this. You can get charcoal grays and blacks that are really not on the warm brown scale. They really do work. They have this synergy. I love them together. But I just, in terms of the vat, did you start with like a fairly high temperature, or did you just start with, if you don't mind, I won't take up too much space.
Sure.
But
No.
You guys can talk about it offline as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
We can talk after.
Yeah, that sounds good. We won't take up. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Roan. So this is, I told you guys last time that I finished my sweater and I finally blocked it yesterday. And so it's drying. So that's pretty cool. So it's naturally colored BFL wool from our farm and a partner farm, hand spun, 2-ply, and hand knit. So pretty excited about it. Now we have our Sligo Creek youth team.
Yeah, so me and Sylvia worked on an indigo harvest, our first indigo harvest, and we did a quick vat, just a cold, an ice vat to Sylvia is making a sweater and I'm doing a weaving project. I think I'm gonna make a shawl. So Sylvia had yarn that she'd purchased from a local farm, and I had roving, and we did our first harvest, which it always takes longer than you think, picking all the indigo, and you have to take all the stems off, and then we did our vat, and we were pretty happy with the colors. I think if you go to the next slides, so here's you have to soak the wool before you dye it. So we were soaking and then soaking the wool in the actual vat, and in the vat it had all these pretty teal colors. So the photo on the left is just the wool drying, and it did dry, so the chlorophyll comes off as it dries and you wash off the chlorophyll, so it stops being the sort of green and turns more to the blue. So as you can see, when it's more wet it looks more teal, but it's ended up to be a little more blue. I think in person it's still a little more teal. Sylvia, do you have anything to add? I don't know if Sylvia's here.
I'm here. I have nothing more to say.
But yeah, no, we were pretty happy with ours, and now we have to start and finish our projects in the next few months before the showing, so pretty excited.
Yeah, that's great. It looks like it was a fun day for you guys too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Kirsten's project.
Okay, so the end of July, I did a pretty big harvest of the indigo that I was growing this year, and I've worked most of the yarn for this project. I've just actually been doing the same process that Ava was describing, which is a quick process with cold or ice water, and you just strip the plant of the leaves and blend it and then strain it and then soak your yarn. And I've been experimenting with that for a while, and it seems like it's fairly light fast, though. It does seem to lose some color, but my idea is that eventually, if it loses too much color, it just goes right back into a cold ice dye for replenishing. But my thought was I kind of wanted this gradation of indigo, and so my thought was to work up to the process of actually creating a fermentation indigo from my leaves, from the plants directly. And so what I have done in the last 3 or 4 years is actually go through this process of creating like a big outdoor tank and soaking my leaves and letting them sort of ferment to the point where they can then be processed and the pigment can come out of suspension, and then I've saved the pigment. And usually it's just, I don't have a huge amount of space, so it's usually just a small amount of pigment and something that I add to a fermentation vat with supplemented, and I use Stony Creek Fibers indigo as a supplement. But this year, I not only did I extract the pigment, but I brought some of the leaves in and slowly heated them, went through that process of the pigment releasing, by using aeration and adding an alkali substance. I used calcium hydroxide and aerated, and the pigment fell out of suspension. And then I created my first fermentation vat from that. Actually, I used this was a quick reducing vat, so I used fructose. So there's my first ever indigo flower fully from my own plants, and I was very excited. So that's the long story. On the left is a picture of, I'm still working on spinning the last bit of yarn for the sleeves of my sweater. And I actually, at some point 2 years ago, I had purchased these fleeces, and as an experiment, I had sent them to 2 different mills, and one mill came, and I just had it milled to roving, and the roving from one of the mills was it just didn't feel very nice to my fingers. And when I started spinning it, it was full of neps and it was kind of a disaster. So I set it aside, but needing a little extra wool, I'm now like obliged to actually deal with this 2-pound bag or 1.5 pounds of roving that has been sitting on the shelf because it's from the same farm, the same it's the same BFL cross, Finn cross. So actually, I got some wonderful advice from Jelaine, who's on this, and a friend of hers. And I'm going through this process of recombing and rewashing the roving because, first of all, it's full of machine oil and it's full of neps, and it's been a really long, arduous sort of process to go through this. But I'm loving the yarn that's coming out of it. So it's, again, like the time and effort is worth it and it's not a loss. And then on the right is just a picture of the yarn quick dyed in the ice bath, which, as Ava said, it looks really turquoise before you rinse it. And then when the chlorophyll rinses out, you get more of a blue. So the gradation for my sweater is really probably not going to come from a strong fermentation vat. What I've done is over-dyed some of the cold vat processes so that I could get darker colors towards the bottom of my sweater. So that's the direction I'm going. Yeah.
Awesome. Looks great. Who would like to share next? Do we need to pick on people?
Yeah, I'll pick Jelaine because I want to see that sweater with the buttons on now.
Okay.
We can pick each other, how about? And Jelaine picks the next, or if people are okay with that.
So some people have seen this, but there's a lot of people who haven't been on these calls who haven't seen this. So I met Tracy Kirkman, who's the shepherdess at Devil's Bliss Farm in Lovettsville, and she raises East Frisian and Zwartbliss, which apparently genetically, the genetic genealogy of those two breeds, they come from the same source and they split at a certain point. And as most of you might know, East Frisian is largely a dairy goat and it's white, and Zwartbliss is near black. And she and her husband bought these sheep to clear the ground underneath their Chardonnay vines because Devil's Bliss is predominantly or has been up to last year, predominantly a Chardonnay vineyard. And one year she has a teenage son, and he's been in 4-H. And one year he submitted fleeces to Maryland Sheep and Wool, and I was volunteering in the fleece barn. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen a Zwartbliss here before. I think I have to take this home. So that's how I got to know Tracy. And thank God for the labels. I looked her up and I shared the results of my work with her, and she got excited, and we started to get to know each other. And Kirsten and my friend Kathy and I went out to help her after shearing to help her skirt her fleeces. And we had a great time and learned a lot about skirting. And I fell in love with a couple more fleeces and had to take them home. I wasn't going to take them home, but I had offered to make Tracy, who's not a knitter, something out of her sheep. And around this time, all the other thing is the sustainable cloth challenge came along. It's like, okay, that's nice. So I processed. I don't have a lot of photos to share right now. I'm very inspired by the presentations, and we'll go create one. I brought the fleeces home. I scoured them. I combed the East Frisian. It's a long one, and I drum carded the Zwartbliss because it's shorter. And in the meantime, Tracy had found a design of a sweater, a sleeveless duster, like a sleeveless vest, that she was in love with. She says, "Can you make this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but there's no pattern for it." And I ended up contacting the designer. That's the only thing that's not local. The design was from a woman on the Faroe Islands, from Faroe Sheep. And so I asked her permission to attempt to replicate her patterns, and she didn't have a knit pattern for it. And she got excited about the project and said yes. So this is the result.
Oh, wow.
Sorry for the not for the lack of presentation. It's pretty bulky. It's maybe 3.5, 4 stitches to the inch. This is the back. So this is her Zorpless, and the white is her East Frisian. And then and I steeked it, and I found wool. I found wool tape from some company in Williamsburg that does supplies for people who are doing recreations of historical costumes and things. It's 100% wool. I don't know it. The company's local in the watershed, but I doubt the actual wool ribbon is local, but I don't know. And then the pièce de résistance. So Tracy's vines are no longer producing enough grapes to make it worth their while. So they are actually closing down the Chardonnay vineyard part of their farm. And what we did is Kirsten found this local guy in Tacoma Park who is a wood carver. And he uses like fallen trees and bushes and bushes and things, and he creates things from local wood. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Well, we didn't know if this would work or not. He'd never made buttons. I went out to Tracy's, and she gave me some of the trunks from the Chardonnay vines, and he was able to make buttons. I don't know. This tickles me more than anything. So there you go.
Oh,
Oh, those are beautiful.
that's fantastic.
It's also 2-color, right? Light and dark.
Yeah.
And so he made me 8. I only needed 7. He made 8, so we have a spare. But he had a lot of fun. He played around with different possibilities with the wood. He tried to keep the center of the trunk in the center of the button, and it's split. So this is a fail. There's several of these. So he found that if he went off center, and instead of making the center of the button in the center, from the center of the wood, he went off, and it was better. So this is just a spare. And he had so much fun doing it, he didn't charge for it. So I intend to give him a lot of kudos in whatever I write up, because Tracy's part of the team. He's part of the team as far as I'm concerned. So I just think the whole story is a really fun story.
That's great.
And it's really hot.
Looks really thick.
It's very thick.
Yes.
Like I said, and it's color work, right? So for those who knit, who know this, when you're doing color work, you're in essence doubling the fabric, because you've got twice as much. So yeah.
It looks so complicated.
Oh, it's not, but thank you. It's a pretty straightforward design. And once you got going, and it was on big needles, I normally work on really small needles. So this was pretty fast. And it was just so exciting to see it sort of take shape. So anyway,
That's great.
it was a very fun project. I'm happy to be done. I'm looking forward to the label. I have a little hand spun, hand knit by Jelaine label in it, but I want to add the
Sustainable cloth.
sustainable cloth challenge, that whatever you guys end up creating, I want to add that too.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping she'll be there. I'm hoping she will. I did take it out to her to try it on and make sure everything fit okay. And it was a really horribly hot day, poor thing, but it fits. She's very, very happy with it. So I'm really excited. And then while I was out there in Waterford, Waterford wool, I don't know how many of you know Waterford wool. The shepherdess's name is Linda. She raises Airedale. They're crossed with Lincoln. And I ended up with more fleece. I brought a fleece, another local fleece that I've been.
How many fleeces do you have now?
I'm a good girl. I was recently reading the Raw Fleeces Lovers Unite or something. It's a board on Ravelry. There are people who have 10, 20, 30 fleeces and we're not talking shepherdesses, we're talking people who buy these to process. I pretty much process them as I get them.
Wow.
In fact, I was just finishing processing some today. I know I have, so this new one, I have an alpaca I'm still working through. And I've just recently finished up a couple pounds of a Gulf Coast native.
Wow.
So that I don't,
Amazing.
yeah, I don't do too many, but in fact, I'm trying to get out of the raw wool processing, but I keep falling in love with them. So
So what's your next project?
So this one is, I don't know how much you can tell. It's kind of like salted caramel. It has light spots and dark spots, and there's variation. I don't know if I can get a gradient out of it. If I can, I'll do some sort of Gansey, Kirsten, like Philip's sweater that you saw when you first met him out of Gretchen's Romney. I want to do a variation of that out of this. If there's enough, now that I'm processing it, I don't know that there's enough variation. So anyway.
Great. Jillian, would you like to pick someone else?
Oh, I don't know who hasn't gone.
I don't mind going.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Cindy.
So when I heard about the Sustainable Cloth Challenge, I thought, well, I hadn't planned on making myself another garment because I was really busy finishing a book I was writing all about growing flax and cotton and taking it all the way to clothes. And also in last fall, I was in the midst of, I had twin grandsons born in October, and I was making them baby quilts from all the scraps and then working on the book and all this stuff. But I did make something. My latest garment is this shirt here. And just to look at it, it's the most boring thing that I have made. But that's because mostly I work with colored cotton, green and brown. And in fact, this vest I have on is, I made this in 2015. And this is my green cotton. And it had crossed with shell buttons, by the way, buttons made from shells. And it had crossed with, the green and brown had crossed in my garden. And so there's a little bit of brown you see in here, but sometimes you see some white. If green doesn't have enough, the right genes to make green, it expresses as white, which I didn't know why at the time. Sally Fox has told me that since. I didn't know at the time why there might be some white in there. But so and then I started I wanted to see if I could, I'm a vegetable grower and for our own use. And I used to teach sustainable agriculture and didn't learn to spin cotton until, I didn't learn to spin at all until 2011 when I was 60 years old. So never stopped learning. So I learned to spin cotton and then got sidelined with a few other things. And in 2015, I finished this vest. And then I thought, the teacher in me, although I was no longer teaching sustainable ag, that I've got to teach people to grow their own clothes, but not everyone can grow cotton. So I'm going to have to learn about flax. You go from doing a fiber this long to a fiber that long. So I learned that. So I've been working with both. And in fact, the shirt I have on is cotton warp and linen weft that I made. So I decided to have the cotton project to see if I could separate out that green and brown, and found out that the brown was dominant and the green, we almost lost the green. We got it back though. And the brown had naked seeds, no fuzz on them, and the green had fuzzy seeds. So obviously it's easier to take the fuzz off of naked seeds. But in the process, I enlisted a couple friends and my daughter and my daughter-in-law, and each of us in 2016, we started the Cotton Project and had taken, each of us took a subset of seeds because if I grew more than one in my, they would cross again. And don't you know that white appeared? My daughter-in-law was growing out some that had crossed in the brown that wasn't the full brown, and got white with, which would have come from the original green, and naked seeds, which came from the brown. And that was so then we kept working with that, taking out what we wanted. Sometimes, you know, that crop from that set of seeds would have still a lot of brown in it and fuzzy seeds and stuff. So we have pretty much in 2020, all of us, there was 4 of us growing it, and some of them had less than 10 plants, and I had like 95 in 2020, and maybe the other 2 had like 18 plants. So anyway, we all grew it out. I had 2 plants of my 95 that had brown lint on it, and everyone, I think we've got it now. So this is it's actually a cream color, and it has naked seeds. So we've been celebrating that, but this is a shirt I made from that cotton. So it's just not, oh yeah, I got some Pima cotton seeds and did that. And the design though, normally, the shirts that I've designed from my own hand spun, I came up with the design of the one I have on because when I started, I had a 12-inch wide loom and that I'd gotten at a swap meet. And so when I wove on that, the resulting fabric was 9.5 inches wide. So I decided figured out how I could make garments. So like this vest, I did that, the 9.5 inch wide fabric with 1/4 inch seams because selvedge on the edge. And you can see it has a half width panel on the side. So then when I did the shirts, I did the same thing, a half width panel. And on the shirt, I have a shirt that has a full 1/2 inch panel on the bottom here, but on these summer shirts, I have, can show you, I made that. So it's got two with the full width here, for the front and the back, and on the half, and then the bottom there's a half width panel. Can you see that? Anyway, it becomes a triangle to gusset here, to bring it in.
Yeah, you talked about that last meeting, Cindy.
Okay, I didn't remember if I had.
Yeah.
But had I shown this shirt?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I forgot that I had done that.
That's
So
okay.
I'm hoping to make the meet, but anyway, don't know if I can, but I'll try.
Fantastic.
You should have told me that I already told you about this shirt earlier. You should have. I forgot.
That's okay.
Not everyone's seen it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always
beautiful.
fun to see what people are doing. Do you want to pick someone or?
Teresa.
I'm happy to go. So originally I was hoping to make a shirt. I was planning to weave this mythical wool that was really tiny, and I kept finding DK weight and sock weight wool, which I've been collecting for months. Ultimately, because I couldn't get the really thin wool for the thin fabric I was hoping to make, I decided to make a coat. I found a sewing pattern designer up near Penn State, I think, or she's somewhere in Pennsylvania. Found this coat, started weaving my fabric, was all excited, and then realized I miscalculated how much fabric I needed. So I can show you. I've made this fabric, 5 yards of it so far. But as it turns out, I need more. So I went ahead and ordered some more brown yarn this time. It's just going to be not nearly as pretty as that. So I can finish up all the pieces that I'm going to need. And then I'm going to need a lining, and Sistari sells some fabric, cotton fabric that they say is local, but they wouldn't tell me exactly how local it is. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. But anyway, I've got this. I've got a warp on my loom right now for the rest of it. And then I'm hoping to have that coat done in the next few weeks.
What we understand about Sistari is that the cotton was grown in Virginia, but it was milled in South Carolina.
Okay.
Because there is no cotton mill.
Exactly.
So, we still consider that to be,
just
pretty close to, it's the closest that we can get to our fiber shed.
Exactly. And because I'm not trying to use some polyester lining, there's no way I'm finding local silk. And this wool is scratchy. I really like a lining that isn't going to be, I can wear a coat and be more comfortable. I'm going to go ahead and use it, but I'll mention that it's grown but milled somewhere else. So I'm glad you have that information.
Where are you getting your pattern?
The pattern is from Winter Wear Designs. She's got several different sewing patterns up there.
Cool.
She's not she's up near Penn State. So she's got quite a few different options.
I need to make a coat and a jacket, and that won't be from my homegrown stuff. That'll be from stuff I get from other people that are getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, she's got a pea coat design that I thought could look really pretty with my fabric. But then after I cut out the pattern in paper, thought it was ready, figured out how much I would need, then I realized that she actually needed four. You get a piece of pattern and realize you actually needed 4 of them, not just 2, which is what I was counting on, is what it is.
Oops.
Yeah, so that's what I got.
Awesome. It looks great.
Thanks.
Next, who
Yes,
would
if
like
you-
to?
Let me just ask if you'd put the name of the pattern maker in the chat, that way we
Yeah.
can make sure others can have it too. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good idea.
I'll actually put her, hold up, her website.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Who would like to go next?
I can talk about what I'm doing. A lot of my journey has been really like learning and what's in the area and playing with different things. I almost feel like I'm still in the design stage. I am still in the design stage. Near to my yarn, it's Gretchen's Hormo. And I saw a sweater, Isabel Kramer has a sweater that is done with Morse code, so it's knits and pearls in Morse code to have like a secret message. So I like that idea, but I didn't want to do a full sweater. And so I'm doing a shawl. And I'm using I decided to use the rivers along the Chesapeake and some of the waterways in Maryland. I'll put those in Morse code into the shawl.
Wow, I love that idea.
And I was going to leave it natural, but now I'm starting to think, well, if I'm doing rivers, I really should dye this blue. So then I get my head around when I'm going to get this dyed. And I've charted out most of what I'm going to actually, of the pattern. I mean, it's not hard as Morse code, but I also want it to be sort of even. Using the Morse code so it's not all lumpy at one spot or the other. So but now I have to think about dyeing this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there.
Are you knitting or weaving?
I'm knitting it. Yeah, sorry, I'm knitting it. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward knitting. It shouldn't take me too long to do.
Great. It's really, sounds fabulous.
That's right.
I love that idea of all the waterways in your
Yeah.
sweater. It's
So
so
I kept trying to
tight.
think, what do I want to put my message? I'm like, why don't I do the waterway?
Yeah.
Make
It
appropriate.
really ties in so beautifully. That's so nice. And I don't know how my indigo crop is doing, but I will let you know if it's something you want to
Yeah, I would actually. if you-
incorporate. Then we'll see if there's enough.
enough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Next. Anyone else want to share?
I have nothing.
I'll just say that I still have the sweater that I was working on at the beginning of this contest, and it still needs sleeves. And so it's a pullover, and it's made from Lisa's Fabershed yarn that I bought from her. And so you'll have to remind me of where it was spun or whatever. I can't remember, but anyway.
Oh, right.
So anyway, then my friend said, "Oh, let's go to Rhinebeck." So now I'm also working on another sweater, but I will try to get both of them done in time for the show. But I can't wait to see.
You're
some
not
of these
going to
other
hold
things.
up what you've got done so far?
Oh, if you want to see it, yeah, sure. Hang on
Yeah.
a sec. It's quite nearby, I think.
Works
Oh,
in
yeah, it's right
progress.
Well, they've seen it before, but it's been a while. So some people probably haven't seen it, but this is, I don't know, wait a minute, let me see.
Oh, yeah, that turned out really pretty.
So I probably should put it so that the light falls on it. But anyway, it's 2 shades of polyplay wool dyed in madder, I think.
Yep.
And the front is striped and the back is not striped. And yeah, that's it. I guess I better get cracking on this. Yes, I better get cracking on this. Yes, everybody.
Well, if you're not driving up to Rhinebeck, then you'll have like 5 hours to knit those sleeves.
Yeah, but that's not my Rhinebeck sweater. I've got another sweater. I'll be knitting on those. I have almost 2 days after I get back to finish that one. So
There you go. Yeah.
We'll see. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Forward to seeing all this.
And also anybody who's going up to Rhinebeck, we will have a table there. And so, consider spending some time with it. There will be 5 different fiber sheds represented, which will be really cool.
What are the other fiber sheds?
The Southeast Massachusetts, the New York Textile Lab, us, and who else, Marion?
Massachusetts, Southeast,
I said that one.
that one. I don't remember.
But there were
Everyone
5.
north, oh, I think New Jersey's coming.
Oh, yeah, New Jersey.
That's really
That's
cool. When is Rhinebeck?
It is October 15, 16.
Yes.
It's always the weekend of Columbus Day. Columbus Day falls on the Monday, and it's always whatever weekend.
The weekend after that. It's
Oh.
the third. It's always the third full weekend of October.
Yeah.
It's the 15th and 16th. I'm
If
actually
you wanna-
curious
if you
who's
wanna
going. I'm
go-
going.
If you want to go, Rona, I might well be driving up. I'd be happy to have a co-driver. So, let me know if you're interested.
Oh, think about it. I'm in Delaware.
I'm in, I'm near University of Maryland, College Park.
Yeah, because I missed the Maryland shooting wolf Christmas. I'm like, oh, I'll go to something.
Anybody we're getting we're about 20 minutes over time. Is there anybody else who would like to share?
I have one more thing I'd like to share, if you don't mind my bringing in a slightly off topic, but I just wanted to lay down here in case people have ideas. An alumni association that I belong to annually offers a grant for alumni over a certain age to pursue some interest or new venture that they're interested in, and it pays you for about a year to just work on the project of your heart if you win it, which is not
Wow.
easy to win. Anyway, I was thinking that I'd be very interested in submitting a proposal to them to work on a fiber shed related project. Some project that has a scope and a mass that a person could work on full time for a year and achieve something that would be useful. And I don't have to submit my proposal until December. But if you have any ideas, I'd be really happy to hear about them. And of course, it's sketchy because I have to, put my proposal in and see if I'm awarded the grant, which is probably not all that likely. But if anybody has any ideas, I would love to hear from you. And I'm putting my email and my phone.
What are
in the
your
chat.
skills? What are your skills?
Oh, right. My background is in IT and project management. So I know how to manage projects, and I have a project management professional certificate. So so if there's a year-long project that I could manage and try to bring to some state of conclusion, or at least that gets somewhere in a year, that might be a good fit for me.
Well, we will definitely be reaching out to you because we have a bunch of
Ideas.
ideas that need a project manager.
Okay.
Are
Right?
we allowed to hint? I don't know.
You want a hint?
Yeah, I mean, we've been brainstorming and starting to talk about like starting a bast fiber study group of some sort, or finding some way to look at flax in a deeper way within our fiber shed. And I know Rowan and myself and Mary Kingsley have also participated in the PA Flax project, but it's a bit far away, and it would be really interesting to do something within our fiber shed on a larger scale to at least explore viability and see see how well flax grows, and see if we can bring some education to the public, and it could be.
I'm terribly interested in flax, so
Oh, cool.
yeah, that could be a good fit.
Yeah, great.
I'd like
Well,
to
let's talk.
mention that I'm going to be demonstrating flax to linen at the Fall Fiber Festival, which is in Virginia, the first weekend in October. I'll be there on Sunday, October 2nd. And so that's just on a home scale, that it shows how you get started.
That's
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, that'll be great.
So we'll definitely be reaching out to you because I think that there's some tentative meetings in the works as well coming up to
Yeah, I
kind
think
of get that together.
the time scale we're talking about is I submit a proposal in December. And if I'm awarded the money, the grant starts in May. So, and then, yeah, it's enough to keep me for a year. So,
Cool.
I know.
Cool. Have we got ideas for you?
Fantastic. I need more ideas.
Well, that's wonderful, you guys. So, like I said at the beginning, tomorrow I will send out an email that has a link to the recording here. As it obviously, we have 60 people signed up, but there's 15 people here today. So I'm hoping that people that can't make it are watching. So they're getting information too. But so they'll have the link for the recording. It will have all the other links to the submission form, to the submission guidelines, to the Sign Up Genius. And I'll probably put other Sign Up Geniuses in there too, because we have some tables at Shenandoah. We have that table at Rhinebeck, and we have a table at the Maryland Alpaca Show. So lots of volunteer opportunities, and it's been really fun. This has been like a passion of mine to get this clothing challenge going, and I'm really excited about all the progress that we've made.
Me too.
Me too.
Awesome.
Nice to see everybody. Nice crowd today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Bye. Thanks for
Take
doing all
care.
Thanks for getting us together.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.